Hi everyone, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to another video. Today I want to share with you how to make your own polymer clay sprinkles. These are great for resin projects, shaker cards, different kinds of things, and I'll show you how I like to use them in a video coming up. These are great to make yourself if you want to create your own custom mixes or a certain color. You can buy these. But if you're making a project where you need a lot of them, that can get expensive pretty fast. Not a whole lot come in a package, so I want to show you how to make these in bulk. So what you're going to need today, first of all, is polymer clay. You can use any kind of polymer clay for this. You can use any color. You can also use the fun effect polymer clay. So I actually did that turquoise there as a pearl color. You just want to make sure that it's an oven baked clay and mix and match. You can mix your colors, do whatever you want, but just make sure it's an oven baked clay. The other thing you're going to need is a clay extruder. Now I got this one from Amazon. It also came with a bunch of tools and it's got all those little pieces that you can attach to the extruder. This is about $15. So each one of your sprinkles is about $3 is the cheapest that I found them. So by the time you buy 5 packs, you've paid for this thing. Now I will show you in another video how you can use these different attachments to make different sizes of sprinkles, different shapes, things like that. But today we are just sticking with the very small sprinkles that you would sprinkle on a cupcake or a cake, kind of like you would get in a funfetti mix. Now, the one you want to use for that is this piece right here. It's not the smallest circle, but it's the next size up, kind of that mid-range, and it has quite a few circles on there, so you're getting lots of ropes as you're pushing this through. You don't have to do one at a time. So let's get on to making these. The first thing you want to do is condition your clay. You don't want it super soft, but you also don't want it hard like it comes out of the package. So start kneading it. You just want to make sure that when you press it with your thumb, you get a nice indentation and you can roll it into a nice long snake, and it's not going to be extremely hard to get through that extruder. The harder it is, the more tension you're going to have to put on that extruder and the more strength you're going to need to roll that through. So just make sure that it's nice and conditioned. To condition your clay, roll it in your hands, press it, roll it on your work surface. You want to make sure that you're not in a freezing cold room. I'm in a basement, so it takes me a little bit longer. But just make sure you're in a warmer space and you should be good to go. Now you want to roll out your clay into a nice log and then roll out that piece on the end of your extruder to bring that guide down. And that's going to move that guide down and create that tube inside. Put your clay into that tube and then secure on the top with your little metal piece that all those things are going to come out of. This tool reminds me of something that you would see in one of those like Play-Doh hair things. I loved playing with those when I was a kid, so maybe that's why I like to do this stuff now. So once you get your clay in there, go ahead and start twisting that arm back down. And as you do that, it's going to start releasing any air that's built up in there. So give it a minute. It may take a second, but your clay will eventually start to come out. Now, as it's coming out, you'll see that it just kind of hangs there. Just keep going until your piece reaches about 6 inches long, 6 to 8. You can do longer. I just find this is the size that works best for me to handle with. But if you want to go longer and have less strips to deal with, by all means do that. This is just the easiest size for me to work with. So I go to about 6 to 8 inches. Then I take a pair of scissors, or you can use a craft knife, and I just snip it off. Then I take each one of those pieces and just lay them out onto my work surface. You don't want these to lay on top of each other for too long and get stuck together. And then just continue the process until you have completed the whole thing of clay. Now you can see at the beginning of this process, I only used a half of a bar of clay. So that bar is 2 ounces of clay, and I cut it in half and use only half of it. And that gives me an ounce of clay that I'm using, and I get all of these pieces. So I just kept running those through and trimming them off with my scissors once I got them to the length. And then I did the same thing with all my different colors. Now, again, you can do this with any color, even the special effects clays that you have. You can mix colors and create your own custom colors too. Now, as I'm working, I like to work on a glass mat just because it seems to not stick to anything and it's very easy to clean up. This one also has grid marks, so I can kind of measure out my pieces as well. All right, let's get to cleaning this extruder because once you've done each piece or each color, you're going to need to clean in between each colors. It's very simple. The easiest, fastest way to clean up clay is with more clay. It seems a little counterproductive. However, take a little bit of leftover clay. I have a piece that I just keep on my desk at all times, and I just bounce it on those pieces of clay that need to come up. It sticks to itself, comes right off the surface, and it makes cleanup a snap. You want to just make sure that that little guide or that little pusher in your extruder is all the way up. Get all those extra clay pieces. Make sure that you also clean off your little metal piece. And again, I just do that by sticking clay onto there, leftover clay, and pulling up, kind of bouncing it on there. And it just sticks to itself, and it's the easiest way to clean this up. So once you have made all your long ropes, it's time to go ahead and start baking. So I take my ropes and I put them onto a cookie sheet. This is a parchment lined cookie sheet. I lay them all out individually. You want to make sure that they're not touching each other too much. A few places here and there isn't a big deal, but any closer and they're going to start sticking together. Then I put them in my preheated oven that the package temperature says to put it at. So for this, I believe it was 275, which is what the package specifies, for 10 minutes. These don't need long at all. Keep an eye on them. They're super thin. They're going to bake in no time. Now, once they have baked, I let them cool, and then it's time to start cutting them. As they are cooling and as you're pulling them off, you might start noticing that these are they're not rigid, they're nice and bendy. That is what you want. You don't want these overbaked or they're just going to crumble and fall apart. You want these to still have that integrity in them where they have a little bend, a little give in them. Now, there are 2 ways to go ahead and cut these. You can use a craft knife or a craft blade, whatever you have on hand. And you can just chop right through them. Make sure you're working on a cutting board or a glass surface or some kind of cutting mat so you don't cut your work surface. But this takes quite a bit of time. I did this for a little bit, and then my daughter decided she wanted to help. So I needed to come up with another way to do this that was faster and a little bit safer. So we grabbed some scissors, put a little bowl underneath them, and just cut them with your scissors. These cut really easily. They don't break apart as long as you haven't overbaked them. If they still have that little bit of give, they just cut like a piece of paper would be. And it's not too hard on your scissors. Don't use your sewing scissors or your really good pair of scissors. Use a pair that you can get for a few dollars at your local store. I like to have a dish underneath this to try and catch them. Sometimes they can go a little crazy. That's okay. They do tend to fly sometimes, but it is what it is. Just have a nice bowl or dish underneath you and chop them right into it. You can do multiple strands at one time, so this does go pretty quickly. I like to put on a show or a movie and watch it while I'm doing it. Now, like I said, my daughter did help me, so there were a few pieces that might have been a little bit too big. What you can do, if that happens for you, just go and grab them and snap them right in half. Once they're down to that size, they snap pretty easily. Now you can see here, this is my kind of magenta one that I did, and that's 1 ounce of clay. I already have more than I did in my little package of clay that I bought. Now, this is great for me because when I like to make shaker cards or shaker card fronts, I like to fill them up a lot. And a lot of times I would use a whole package of clay, but you can easily do this. Use a half a package. Create your own custom mixes to fit them to your project. I did a whole rainbow of these in an afternoon. Really simple and easy to do. And then I was able to create my own custom mix. Now I will show you how I like to use these in another video coming up. But really quick, I wanted to show you an example of these compared to sprinkles that you would get in the grocery aisle. Obviously, these aren't edible, don't eat them, but just a little bit of fun to see how they compare to the actual thing. That is going to do it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to my channel here. All the supplies I used today are listed in the description box below. Happy crafting, everyone!